Okay, you're being recorded.
I know. We're ready? Okay. Hi everybody, how you doing? We're back in another week of lockdown and we're gonna have another fun lesson tonight. I'm gonna have Alex here helping me out to kind of see. We're gonna talk about whenever we're trying to just push things to the limit, just a little too far and how far we can get. So tonight I'm going to try to tie Alex up and see just what he can break up. So we're gonna try some thread to see if he can break through the thread. We'll see how this goes.
Let's hope I can break through this at least.
Our lesson tonight is about Samson. Remember the little strong guy in Judges? He's kind of one of the last judges, I think, before they start getting into kings and things like
That's
that.
enough.
So, we'll see if he can break that. Can you break that? Ooh, what a strong guy. Okay. So we'll wrap him up just a little bit more. See if we can do this. Yeah. This is just a little thin stuff. We'll get to the thicker stuff later. We'll see if he's really one of his superheroes that I always use every week. See if you can do that. Which one would you rather be, Alex? Superhero.
Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Captain America. Not Super Duper Man.
Yeah. I'd rather not have to worry about kryptonite.
Yeah, that's true. It's all over the place around here, isn't it?
Totally.
Okay, so we got a little bit more. Not as much. Give you a little bit more. All right, see what you can do with that one. Ooh, we got that too. So he's getting pretty confident that he can go a little bit further if he wants and do some things maybe that's just not quite. So we're gonna go a little tougher and see how this goes. I'm just going to give you one strand of this because it's pretty tough stuff. We'll see how Captain America gets out of this one.
If I had a shield, I could just cut through it.
Yeah, you and your shield. We don't have your shield, do we? You can buy that one. Well, it'll come out of a knot, no?
Yeah.
Alright. I don't know how to tie a knot. I was not a Boy Scout. Isaac was, but I'm not.
Yeah, too bad he's not here.
Yeah.
We should have him with
Try
it.
that. Pulled my knot out again. But anyways, this is tougher string, and sometimes we push our limits a little too far, and we get sucked into something we can't get out of. So, that's kind of one thing we're going to do. This time, I'm going to wrap him in this paper towel, and we're going to see how he can get out of that. So, I'm going to be running around in a circle. Tuck this under your arm here. Get started. Just like TP in the man, you ever TP a house? TP in it though, I'm ripping it.
Yeah, they're not really TPing it. That's kind of a endangered species right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm not using toilet paper. How far do you think we can get with this?
I've seen people break out of it whenever they're fully body wrapped, so.
Alright, we'll see how this goes once. Tuck this in here. I'm getting a little dizzy anyhow, so I'm going to stop. Alright, Captain America, can you get out of that? Oh, look at that. See, he can get out of that. Now, you think if I put this whole roll around him, which I don't want to waste that much, you think he can get out then? Now, how far can we push ourselves?
She's at her fire starter later.
Yeah, I don't want to waste the whole. We'll put some more on this time, just to see what we can do. This time, I'm going to put it all in one. Whoops. I'm done. I'm going to put it all in one spot instead of all over the place.
So, they're basically making it fortified now.
Right. Stronger. Here we go. So I want you to think about some of the things that Satan can trap us in that we don't really realize at the time that he's trapping us. So we think we're pretty confident in our ability to be able to not give in to Satan in different ways. Actually, maybe went the other way this time so we get dizzy. And we don't always realize just how far we pushed our limits. And sometimes we get it a little too far. I don't know how many revolutions I went this time. You counting?
No, all I know is I actually started feeling actually getting harder.
Be able to stand up if I keep going around. Anyways,
It's enough that I can actually feel the strength of it against my arms.
is it getting tight? Is it getting
Yeah.
tight? I'll get around two more times here. We'll see what you do. I don't want to waste all Louise's towels here. Might be handy. We might be able to auction this off. Ooh, the room's spinning a little bit. Alright, see what we can do with that. Uh-oh, whoa, he got through it, but boy, I tell you, that was close. He almost didn't catch it. So anyways, sometimes, like I was saying, we get ourselves into a little bit more of a jam and we kind of get ready for it. So I guess that's all I'm going to tie you up with, but I just want to do another thing sometimes about how we approach things a little bit here with this fan. Alright, and so I got a balloon here. Thanks, Alex.
Yep.
The balloon is us, the fan is temptation, and the pin is Satan. Okay? So I'm going to turn the fan on here, and we get ourselves in the way sometimes. The fan, I don't want you, I'll steal you. You stay put, alright? I'm going to put it on full blast here, so you can blow everything away. So sometimes we think, well, we can get in here, and we can get pretty close to this here, and we won't really have anything going on. So next time we start, well, I can go a little bit further, right? It is a little bit further. I don't know if this pin will get out or not. I should have a sharper pin. So then we go just a little bit further the next time, and there he goes. And sometimes Satan gets us and we don't even realize that we're even being tempted because we just kind of go further and further and further. Now today, like I said, we're going to talk about Samson and how he kind of pushed his limits a little too far. Remember, Samson was a very strong man, and he was born into a family that weren't able to have kids, and so they were supposed to make him a Nazarite, which is somebody that is supposed to be destined or God-fearing. Oh, that's in the fan. Oh, maybe I like that. And so we always make some. They didn't have a child, and so they didn't know how to raise him. So an angel of the Lord came to him, and he wanted to know how to raise him. Said, "Do not put any razor on his head. He was not allowed to have his hair cut." Now, guys, I don't know how long you would want your hair to be, but Samson's got pretty long. So they made 7 braids out of it. You ever hear of dreadlocks? Well, these are like the Bible time dreadlocks. They must have been huge. I couldn't imagine. But anyways, he was kind of one of those guys that would just like to live on the edge a little bit. And so instead of wanting to marry an Israelite woman, he wanted to marry a Philistine woman. Now, Philistines, if you heard before, David's going to be fighting the Philistines too later on, but whenever we get into a few more lessons. But Philistines were actually oppressing the Israelites. They were kind of under bondage of the Philistines. So anyways, he had wanted to marry this Philistine woman. And so they allowed him to do that. It was actually under God's plan. And so whenever they're going to meet this woman, there's a lion jumped out at him, and he tore this lion apart with his bare hands. Just tore apart, threw it in the ditch or whatever. So then when he went back to marry her, he seen this old lion's carcass laying there, and bees had went in it and made a honeycomb out of it. So he dipped his hand in there and ate some honey out of the carcass of the lion. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd want to eat honey out of a rotten lion, but he did, and he actually took it for some people, and I was kind of breaking his code because he wasn't allowed to eat anything unclean. I don't think the lion was very clean, but so anyways, he went and married this woman, and it didn't work out very well. So he went back home again, and her dad actually gave her to somebody else, and so he wasn't married to her anymore. And later on, he went down, he took a goat, and he wanted to go see his wife, and so he wouldn't let her. And so anyways, this really made Samson mad. And so anyways, long story short, I want you to read this. It starts in Judges 13, I'm sorry, the birth of Samson, through actually 16 whenever he gets into the last of it. But anyways, made him mad and things happened. So he got mad at him, and so he actually went and hid in a cave, and some of the Israelites of the one tribe were afraid that Samson made everybody mad enough that their Philistines are going to come and kill them. So they went and got Samson and said, hey, what's going on? You guys just made them mad, and we're going to get killed. And so he said, well, you can capture me, but don't kill me. Just tie me up. And so they're going down the road, and the Philistines are coming out, and they seen him, and they're going to take him. So he had new ropes on him. He busted the ropes out just like I had on Alex there. And so then he found a new, what did it say, donkey's jawbone. And he killed 1,000 Philistines with his donkey's jawbone. He was so mad. And so then he went home again, and he kind of made restitution for some things that were going on, and he was glad. He thanked God for the victory over them that day. But then Samson kind of got a little bit careless again, and he went to see this girl named Delilah. And I don't know how much you would want to make money on trying to get somebody captured or killed that didn't really deserve it. But this is what this lady was going to do. The Philistines came to her and said, if you can find out what Samson's strength is, we'll give you a whole bunch of silver. Each one of us will give you a whole bunch of silver. So, of course, hey, money talks, right? And so she said, oh, okay, I'll see what I can do. And so she asked one night, said, what is the secret of your strength? And he said, well, if you get 7 fresh bowstrings that have never been dried, I will become just as weak as any other man. And so she tried that one night, tied them up, and the guys were hiding in the room where they're at. And she says, Samson, wake up, the Philistines are with you. And so he woke up and snapped them things off and took off. And so that really made her mad. He says, you made me look like a fool. You must not love me. So why don't you tell me why are you so strong? What keeps you from that? And so he did a couple other things. Another thing he said, well, tie me with new ropes. And so if you tie me with new ropes, I'll become weak as any other man. And so, okay. So he fell asleep again at her place that night, and she tied him up with these new ropes. And Samson, wake up! Philistines are with you. We're all upon you. And he woke up and snapped them and took off just like that. And then it really made her mad. And said, why are you doing this to me? You say you love me. You don't love me. Why are you telling me this? And so he said something about braiding his hair into some fabric and putting a pin in it somewhere. And this will make me weak. So she did that. And so the same thing. Philistines are on you. Wake up, Samson. And so he yanked that thing right out of his hair. And I can't imagine how that would hurt, but it did. And so that didn't hold him down either. And so this really made her mad because she wanted his money in the worst kind of way. She didn't know what these people were going to do to him. So anyways, he said she kept begging her and begging and begging and begging and begging and prodding and prodding and prodding and just getting on his nerves. He just got sick of it. So, okay, I'll tell you, just to get off my back, he said. So he said, if you shave my head, I will become weaker than any other man. So, okay, so he kind of was with her that night, and he kind of fell asleep, and so she called somebody in to cut his hair off. And so said that the Lord left him whenever he cut his hair off because he was not supposed to have a razor on his head. And so they come in and captured him. He thought he was going to get away. He didn't realize that God had left him. And they captured him and they gouged his eyes out. I can't imagine what that felt like. So he became blind. And so they celebrated, and they're celebrating to their God that their God delivered Samson into their hands. Their enemies is what they called him. And so they tied him into this big temple they had for their own God, and they made Samson perform for them, just to tease him like he used to tease them. And so there were thousands and thousands, about 3,000 people were watching in this arena, temple, whatever. And he told the people he was chained to, he said, put me up against the pillars that embrace this that holds this temple because I want to rest upon them. I want to lean against them. So they took him over there and did that, and he asked God, since his hair was starting to grow back again. And so anyways, he asked God just one more time, just help me to have victory over these Philistines. Let me die with the Philistines. So he was strong enough to push the pillars away, and the whole temple came down, and everybody in the temple, including him, died that night. So it's just one of those things where we really try to push our boundaries with God, we end up hurting ourselves. Whenever we try to do things out of God's character, we think, well, we go to church on Sunday, we go to Sunday school, we read the Bible, we do this, we can always do something. But, it's okay if we do something like this, and then we kind of get away from God a little bit further. It's just kind of like playing tag or playing battle ball or something, where you lean out a little bit closer to the guy that has the ball, and a little bit further, and a little bit further, and a little bit further, and then finally he throws the ball and hits you. It's just one of those things where you just kind of dare yourself to see how far you can go without actually getting caught or getting caught up in what was going on. And Satan's going to try everything he can to keep you from God's glory, and he's going to try to make you dissatisfied, just like he did Samson, where he had to find somebody else. You ever heard the phrase, it's grass is greener on the other side of the fence, or you always want something you can't have, and things like that, and you just push yourself to the limit. You ever hear about walking a fence? I don't know if you ever tried walking on top of a fence, see if you teeter-totter or fall off one side or the other. What kind of life is like that sometimes? We put ourselves in that situation where we're just walking on this little thin thing, and we could fall either way, and sometimes, depending on the situation or what comes up, we may fall off the wrong way. So basically, my lesson for you today is, I just want you to understand that if you follow God's ways and keep his ways, we talked so many times about how the Israelites had fallen away from God, and they keep falling away from him, and they fall away from him, and they keep coming back because they get enslaved or whatever, and life gets pretty miserable for them, and they keep wanting to come back then, but they understand that eventually God's way is a lot better. But sometimes we forget that. Whenever we get too confident in ourselves, like Samson did with his strength, and we kind of forget about God is the one that gave us our strength. Just remember, God is the one that gives you your abilities. And sometimes we start getting a little too confident in our own abilities and forget that God are the ones that give it to us. So anyways, I want you to read through this. It says birth of Samson starts at Judges chapter 13. And through chapter 16, it's quite a bit of reading, but I want you to read it. I'm going to give you a little quiz again, okay? And I'll give you my number again. It's 814-386-1865. So I hope you have a piece of paper and a pencil ready, and that you can get these down, okay? So the first one I'm going to give you is actually in Judges chapter 12, and it's toward the end of the chapter, in verses 13 and 14. There is a judge named Abdon, Abdon, and he led Israel for about 8 years. I want you to ask me, or tell me, how many sons did he have, how many grandsons did he have, and how many donkeys did he ride? Okay? And the next question is in chapter 13. Who was Samson's father? What was Samson's father's name? Okay. All right. So the third question is, and this is in the part of your reading here, how many braids did Samson have his hair in? How many braids did Samson have his hair in? Okay. Number 4. What was the secret of Samson's strength? What was the secret of Samson's strength? Okay. And number 5. What did Samson use to kill 1,000 Philistines? What did Samson use to kill 1,000 Philistines? All right, that's I'm just going to give you 5 tonight, but I just want to once again tell you that I really miss you. I am making notes for you guys I want to send to you. Hopefully this weekend I get them out to you. but it's just not the same teaching you from my phone. I really hope to be with you guys soon. I hope everybody's staying healthy and well and keeping up with all your schoolwork if you have to do any. And hopefully here in another couple of weeks maybe we can get back together. But I do miss you all, and I know God cares about you very much, and He is looking over you always. Have a great week, and God bless.